What's happening, Hot Wheelers? Joe Motor back with you here. You may remember a couple of videos ago we were talking about these cars from the Tomica Limited Vintage line, specifically the Crazy Ken's Car Club series. And we looked at this Nissan Cedric in that video. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, you can click over to it. It's just a couple of videos back. We took a good look at this really cool Nissan Cedric. And what was interesting about it is when I found it, it was volume 2. And so this is the package for that piece, and then so of course I had to go look for volume 1, and so that has arrived. So I'm going to put this Nissan Cedric to the side here, and we're going to take a look at volume 1 of Crazy Ken's Car Club. And then I also have a couple of Prince Gloria Super 6s back here we're going to peek at as well. But as we talked about in the last video, I think Crazy Ken is a musician, very famous musician, or is in a famous band in Japan, and collects vintage cars. And so this series was or is dedicated to his collection. I'm not sure exactly what year these were released. I've tried to look here on the back. It does have a copyright, but I can't see the date. So if any of you are able to see that, or if I'm just missing it, let me know. So I'm not sure how recent these are, if we're going to see a volume 3 anytime soon. But that's something, if you guys know, definitely put it in the comments. But again, we looked at volume 2 last time, so this is volume 1. As you can see, the packaging is very similar. It's got kind of the checkered flag, the featured car, the silhouette, I assume is Crazy Ken here on the front. And then on the back, we looked at the back of the packages where we think, you know, this is Crazy Ken, we think, holding a model of what we're about to open here. And it's an Isuzu Bellett, which is a very cool little car. So here's the back. Let me just show you the packaging really quick so you get a sense of that. It's very similar to the Nissan Cedric that we opened, which makes sense. So there's that. And then of course, as we've talked about before, these really nice packages open up like a book. And then here again is Crazy Ken holding the little Isuzu Bellett. And if you can read any of this and want to translate it for us in the comments, please do. Lots of good information there, I am sure. Now over here you can see he's got the sort of signature little collector box, the Tomica Limited Vintage collector box, and then there's the actual car, the Isuzu Bellett 1600 GT to be specific. So we're going to take this out of the package. I'm not going to do it on camera, it's going to take me a while. So we'll take that out of the package and get a closer look at it. Be right back. Alright, so we've got this little Isuzu free of the package. Thought I would just show you the little collector box that it comes with real quickly. Some more information that I can't read. And I was hoping to find, again, the year that this was released, but I suppose I could look this up. But I'm just really curious about if they're going to release volume 3 and volume 4, and if there's any way to know what cars are coming up. But this Isuzu Bellett 1600 GT, pretty interesting. And so let me put this down, we'll look at the actual car. And with this one, it's kind of interesting that there's not a whole lot of extra livery or decal tampos on it. It's just kind of a plain sort of cream off-white. The black 69 here on the side, on the hood. The Crazy Ken's Car Club sort of logo here on the back fender. And then you can sort of see, if I can get up here close enough, you can see the Bellett GT, 1600 GT logo. That's very tiny. You guys see that? Get up as close as I can. And then all blacked out tires, which are really, really cool. And then moving around to the back, these beautiful, again, Tomica Limited Vintage, you just cannot beat the detail that they put into their cars here. So this is very nice taillights here with the license plate. You even got some writing up underneath. I don't know if you can see that or not. It says Bellett, the Isuzu Bellett, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Could be Bellett, but really, really crazy detail. I mean, you just really have to look hard to notice that. And then looking around to the back, you can see the Crazy Ken's Car Club logo in the rear window, and then also on the top here, the roof. Going around to the other side, very similar detail, as you can see. Beautiful shiny white. And then up here in the front, of the right front fender, we have some writing. And again, I have no idea what this says, so if you guys out there watching know, would love to have you pipe in there and tell us what that is. Here's the front of the car. It's got all blacked out headlights, but the detail on the grille is just immaculate. Look at all those different patterns there. Really great with the license plate again on the front, and then you have side markers, which is really great. Just beautiful details. I could look at these and show you these Tomica limited vintage cars all day. They're just so much detail, so much really wonderful craftsmanship that they put into these cars. Some more writing here on the front windshield, and then windshield wipers are drawn in there. And then let's look at the interior, see if we can see down in there. A couple of bucket seats with some nice texture, not too much going on in the rear. You can see the gear shift just barely there. Let's see if we can get around here to the other side. See anything else going in there. There's the steering wheel. Pretty much all black on the inside. Then I'll show you the base really quick, just so you have a chance to see what that reads. And it's got nice thin rubber tires. Beautiful, beautiful little car. Just look at that guy. Really excited to add this to the collection, and I'm hoping that we're going to see some more of these pieces coming out for Crazy Ken's Car Club. Now, the one mystery that I still don't know, and maybe you guys can tell me if you can read any of the information I showed, or if you've looked this up, is the number 69. I wonder the significance of that to Crazy Ken. I wonder if these are authentic race cars that he's collecting, or if he's customizing these and putting 69 on them. I'm not really sure, because as you remember, the number on the Isuzu is 69 and the number on the Nissan Cedric is also 69. So I'm not sure if he's adding that number, or collecting cars with that number. If you guys know something that I don't about that, I would love to hear you pipe in. So those are the two cars that I know of so far that have come out in the Crazy Ken's Car Club edition of Tomica Limited Vintage. So I'm hoping to see more of these come out in the future, and I'll definitely review them here on the Joe Motorhood when they become available. So I'm going to put this back up in the display case for you and for me, and then I want to move on to these Prince Gloria Super 6s. One detail I forgot to leave out on the Isuzu Bellett is that if you notice on the card art here, or the collector box art, you notice a little antenna sticking up out of the roof. It actually comes with that antenna in the package. I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to try to show it to you how tiny it is. The plastic piece to hold it is tiny, but the actual antenna is almost microscopic. You can barely see it. I am not going to be attaching that to this piece because I know for sure that I will lose it. But you can see where you're supposed to attach it right here, this little hole in the top where this little piece is supposed to go inside. But I guarantee you I will lose it. It will fall off, so I'm not going to attach that. But again, it just shows you the commitment to extreme detail that Tomica Limited Vintage puts in the process of making these little cars. So now on to the Prince Gloria Super 6. If you notice in the back here, we have a car that we looked at in a previous video, the Prince Skyline 1500, which we talked about just a little bit. And it's actually the 1500 was released after the Gloria Super 6, and I'm talking about the actual car, not necessarily the die-cast version. But we'll talk more about them because there's kind of an interesting history behind these, and I certainly don't know all of it, but it is sort of an interesting period in Japanese car history, the difference between the Prince Skyline 1500 and the Gloria Super 6. Now, there are also, speaking of volumes, there are 2 volumes of this. There's a volume 2 of the Prince Gloria Super 6 that comes in a sort of a green and a red that I haven't got my hands on yet, but we'll be looking for. But again, similar packaging details, Tomica Limited Vintage, some text here on the left-hand side, and then the 2 cars that come in this package, which is great. You get sort of a 2-for-1 deal on this one, in the white and the blue livery. And then I'll just show you the rest of the package really quick so you get a sense of what's on it. This one, I believe, was released in 2004. Let me just double check down here, because down here they actually have the year 2004. So this one is, almost 13 years old almost, or more. And so this is kind of an older set, but still in great condition, and follows suit with a lot of the Tomica Limited Vintage packing. So we're going to break these open and take a closer look at the 2 Prince Gloria Super 6s. Alright, so getting these two Prince Glorias out of the package, one little detail to notice that I noticed was that the interior packaging is not quite as precious as the more recent releases from Tomica. As you can see here, this is sort of just some kind of flimsy cardboard. They do have a nice plastic shell that kind of keeps the car in place, so if you do need to put it back in the package, it should stay put. But as you can see, it's not quite the same collector box, sort of precious packaging that the other car we just looked at had. But the exterior packaging of the Prince Glorias is pretty nice. But all the more reason to get them out of the package to take a look at them. So let's take a look at these up close. Now I think one of the first things you'll realize between the Prince Gloria Super 6 and the Prince Skyline, look at that. Look how much smaller it is. So what's interesting about the history of this car is that the Super 6, I think, was one of the first release of this particular car, and it was big. It was sort of mimicked the American style sedans that were being released in the United States in the mid-60s, around 1964, 1965. And so the Japan models that were being made were, of course, sort of designed in a similar fashion. Much more of a big, sort of boaty looking car. And that's the kind of look that you've got here. And then, of course, the cars would be souped up for racing and put in stock car races to kind of show off the performance and also sort of promote the car as it was being released. So you'll see, you can find actual real versions of these Prince Glorias either on Nissan Heritage websites or things like that. And they also come in different scales. I think I've seen a few in 143 and maybe even larger scales. Notice the lensed tail lights here, just beautiful oval-shaped lensed tail lights. Really, really beautiful chrome detailing on that bumper. See how it sort of scoops up there on each side. Little flare right there. Just lots of character in that remind you a lot of the, sort of the Chryslers in the U.S. in the mid-1960s that were coming out. Very similar styling. You look at the top, and this car's white, so it's kind of blasting out my camera, but you can see the TVI logo here, and then the Prince 6 right here on the bottom right of the trunk. And then as we work our way around, it's pretty similar details on the other side, almost exactly. I'll show you the base really quick on this one. Very pretty simple. They do have thin rubber tires. No hubcaps, but very nice detail on the wheels. And then interior, you can see quite a bit of detail. The texture on the seats, really nice. And then the driver's side over here, some detail on the dash, along with a sort of double steering wheel there, which is interesting. So this other model, the blue one, should be almost exactly the same. So let's take a quick look at it up close. Again, not a whole lot of detailed sponsor badges or livery here, but just sort of a blue tint of the Prince Gloria here. Here's the Gloria Super logo here on the rear fender. Working our way to the back, same beautiful flared up details on the bumper, and almost identical, really, just a difference in color. So I'll kind of show you a once around of that one. Wheels are also exactly the same, seems to be. Another thing about Tomicas is they spin really well too. They roll. Look at the headlights on this one. See if I can get it closed up. Nice green details over the headlights of that one, and the grille. Beautiful, beautiful work. Tomica always does fantastic work, and even considering these were released quite a bit earlier than some of the stuff being released now. So again, these series really always intrigue me because it sort of represents a transition between there's the interior dashboard of that one. Some detail in there. I don't think there's a whole lot of difference in the base, as you can see. So these are pretty much identical, minus a couple of little color details, and of course the number being different. But the big thing to notice for me is the size. The size of the Prince Skyline 1500 versus the Prince Gloria 6. So, and what I think is important to know is that the Prince Gloria 6 was a predecessor, and they were sort of trying to mimic American cars. Their big, boaty, over-designed kind of beauty that is known for American cars in the 1960s. And then when the Prince Skyline came out, it was much boxier, much smaller, designed a little more for economy and, you know, the size of practicality, really. And so it sort of represents a period when Japanese cars went to the more compact sizing, and they sort of stopped trying to mimic American brands and started incorporating the good things about American car design and going in their own direction. And I think you see that too at the Isuzu Bellett, which was, I think, also when they released this was a smaller version of its predecessor too. And so you really sort of have this stream in the mid-1960s of these Japanese cars starting to get smaller, and you know, you just had model after that of these really tiny little cars that are incredibly detailed, incredibly economical, and they were not afraid to put them on the racetrack. You know what I mean? So whether they were always winning or having a hard time, they were beautiful vintage race cars in addition to drivable cars on the road. So I love collecting these pieces. I hope to get the red and the green version too, just to add to the collection here, and I'll definitely continue tracking down these Tomica limited vintage racing cars especially. So if you've got any comments, please put them below. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. I really appreciate all of your comments, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Keep on motoring, guys.